Well, if you've gotten to this page, you're interested in our courses. This is going to be a fairly long video. So what we're going to try to do is to keep it as simple as possible. Our particular system is set up to help people that have never bought real estate before. They don't know anything about real estate. Now, if you're an expert or an intermediate, please bear with this video because there's going to be some things in here that you really need and you don't have, like private money and financing and joint ventures and all this other stuff. But if you're brand new, don't worry, because we're going to start you off with the basics. And I taught college, I taught high school. I keep it simple, but it's very organized. So if you're patient and you just listen to how this is set up, you're going to enjoy it. I'd highly recommend that you get a pen and piece of paper, okay? You don't have to write it all down, but write down what you're interested in, okay? What are you interested in learning? So you want to get started? Okay, there you go. Here's the introduction. Can real estate investing in 2013 really be done? And do you really need money or credit? And I guarantee you don't. Okay? Your current job and being financially free, if you feel like you're spending more or all your money and maybe even more on credit cards, it's a good time right now to try your best to learn how to buy property without any money at all. Here's the course materials, what we're going to cover. Understanding, we put everything in categories and we put them in learning modules and then action modules. You actually go out and talk to people, believe it or not. If you don't put it into action, you're just thinking and you're not doing. If you just think and don't do, you're going to get zero. I guarantee you. So here's the deal categories. One of the things that's so important, one of the biggest mistakes is you have to know your exit strategy. What are you going to do once you get the property? Now, you can either sell it, you can rent it out, you can sell it on terms, you can sell it for cash. Or, whatever it is. There's many ways to sell, and there's many ways to sell on terms. Here's the first category we want to talk about is wholesaling, is where you find a property and you flip it. Okay? You get it on an option contract and you flip it. That's called wholesaling. What kind of properties do you invest in? What kind of properties you don't invest in wholesaling? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? So we go through the baby steps. Second one is retailing, and retailing is all about, I'm going to go do the work myself. I'm going to borrow the funds either from the bank or a private lender. I'm going to renovate, and it's going to cost a lot of money, but hopefully you'll get that money out, especially in 2013 when the market's going back up. What are the advantages and disadvantages of rehabbing, retailing? And then seller financing. And a lot of people, they don't know what seller financing is. Seller financing, I'll tell you, it's not that hard. My definition is this: I'm talking to the seller, and how can we work as a team, and the seller helps the buyer buy it. It's that simple, and there's many ways to do that, and it depends on the state you're in. If you're in Texas, you have certain rules about seller financing, and we deal with Texas all by itself. So if you live in Texas, give me a call. But the deal is in the terms and what the current financing is in seller financing. And we use these terms called wraparound mortgages and AITDs and lease options. We use contracts for deed, agreements for deed. It depends on what state you're in, but we can buy on terms. Now, we don't want to sell that way. We want to buy that way. And then there's this much publicized way of buying a property called subject to existing financing and the due on sale clause, and we teach you exactly what that all means and how to structure those particular deals. What are the advantages of using creating private mortgages for free and clear properties. What are the advantages of using a wrap? Agreements for deed is where you actually create an agreement and they're going to pay a certain amount of money, then they're going to have a balloon payment and they're going to have to pay you off. Lease options are an exciting area. I think lease options have the least amount of risk and the quickest way to go control a property and make some money with a property within 60 days without using banks, without using a buyer's list. You just go out and you find a seller that has no equity, and there's a ton of those properties, and we have a special kind of course that we call lease option assignments, and we really love that particular way of getting started in this business. But our lease option section is very, very deep. What is a lease option? Why do sellers do a lease option? Give me 10 reasons why they do it. When do you lease option a property? How do you make money with sublease options and sandwich lease options? And then we go through how do we use a lease options with repairs that it needs work. What are the advantages and disadvantages? What are the advantages to the seller and to the investor? And selling with lease options versus renting out properties, and what are the disadvantages of lease options. Now, it's very, very deep on the lease options sections. The next section we're going to talk about is standard options, where you just get an option to purchase, and then you control it with very little money or risk. Sometimes we use a non-exclusive option where the seller can sell it by himself, or we can find a buyer. Okay? And the next section is renting, landlording, and how do you get good at that? If you've never had a rental property before, it's hard just to go buy a book. We've got all the forms so that you can do a great job as far as being a landlord. If you don't want to be a landlord, that's fine, but we do a lot of lease option assignments where we're going to go lease option from the seller and then do a rent to own for the buyer. And then we need all those forms to be able to do that system. And you gotta be able to get out into the marketplace and let people know what you're doing, and we help you with that. Getting organized, setting up shop, making a space to work, tools of the trade, all that stuff. We teach you how to get started really, really fast, and that's our introduction section. We're going to go through the next couple of videos and we're going to talk about how do we build a contact team, how do we build if I'm going to do the rehabbing, how do I find contractors and all the rest of the other stuff. Then how do we find money sources, how do we find people that are going to give us money, whether it's a bank or private lender, what kind of agreements do we need, and then how do we do our marketing and get our sellers and get our buyers. So those are going to be the next particular videos, and I hope you're excited. I hope you're excited about getting involved and using no money and no credit. So stay tuned. The next section we're going to talk about is how can we get started. Okay.